Millionaire stumbles upon wife, degrading black cleaner's daughter. His unexpected response left everyone stunned in a world where wealth often blinds hearts and marble staircases echo with arrogance. One moment changed everything. A powerful millionaire stood frozen outside his own mansion, watching the woman he thought he knew unleash venom upon a young black girl clutching a trash bag. The girl wasn't a trespasser nor a thief. She was the daughter of their cleaner, quietly helping her mother. But what he heard that day shattered illusions of love, loyalty, and morality. He never imagined his next move would spark whispers across the entire city. What he did left everyone stunned, and forever changed. The story begins inside a towering estate, where every chandelier sparkled brighter than the stars and every marble tile shone from relentless polishing. This mansion didn't just symbolize wealth, it embodied power, influence, and control. Behind the grandeur stood Michael, a millionaire who had climbed from modest roots to unimaginable success. From the outside, his life looked perfect, a thriving business empire, a beautiful wife, and a sprawling mansion that seemed untouchable by hardship. Yet beneath the shine, subtle cracks whispered truths that wealth often conceals. Michael prided himself on discipline, hard work, and respect for those who helped maintain his empire. His own mother long ago had scrubbed floors so he could have a chance at education. He never forgot the sting of those early years, when people dismissed him simply because of his background. On this particular afternoon, Michael returned home earlier than expected from a high-profile business meeting. He anticipated silence, perhaps the faint clatter of dishes from the kitchen staff or the soft hum of vacuuming echoing across the hall. But what he encountered on the marble staircase left him rooted in disbelief. His wife, Eleanor, stood at the grand entrance, her fingers stabbing the air, her voice sharp and venomous. In front of her was a young black girl, no older than 12, holding a heavy trash bag as if it weighed her entire world. The girl's wide eyes shimmered with confusion and humiliation. Behind the child, tucked nervously in the shadows, was her mother, the family's longtime cleaner, frozen with shame. Michael's heart clenched. What was unfolding before him wasn't just a scene of cruelty, it was a revelation of character. And nothing would ever be the same. Eleanor's voice carried through the marble hallways like a whip. She demanded to know why children from staff dared to be near the family's private entrance. Her words weren't merely scolding, they dripped with disdain, as though the presence of the girl tainted the polished steps. The girl's small frame trembled, yet she stood still, clutching the trash bag tighter, as if somehow proving her worth through silent obedience. Her mother, hands clasped tightly, whispered apologies, words she had probably uttered far too many times in a lifetime of serving others. Michael remained hidden for a moment longer, his breath shallow, his pulse quickening. He remembered his own boyhood, how teachers once eyed his second-hand clothes, how neighbors whispered about his mother working in strangers' homes. Back then, he promised himself he would never allow wealth to erase his humanity. Yet here was Eleanor, the woman he trusted, cutting through the dignity of others with cruelty sharper than any blade. The tension stretched. Michael stepped forward at last, his polished shoes clicking on the marble floor. Eleanor whipped around, startled, her expression shifting into controlled composure. She began to excuse her outburst, insisting she was maintaining order. But Michael's gaze wasn't on her, it was fixed on the girl, whose eyes brimmed with unspoken pain. He noticed her small hands, chafed, tired, far too familiar with labor no child should bear. He noticed the way she refused to cry, swallowing dignity even when others tried to strip it away. The cleaner's daughter wasn't just invisible staff. She was a mirror of his own past, a reminder of the very struggles that had shaped him. And in that instant, a storm brewed inside him, not of anger, but of awakening. The days that followed were heavy with silence. Michael couldn't erase the scene from his mind. At business meetings, words blurred. At dinners, food lost flavor. His thoughts returned to that trembling child. He began quietly observing how his wife treated others, from the gardener to the chauffeur. a pattern emerged. Eleanor's charm glittered in public, but behind closed doors, her sharp tongue cut deep into those society overlooked. One evening, Michael overheard staff whispering in the kitchen, hushed voices sharing stories of insults, impossible demands, and moments when Eleanor reduced them to shadows. They never spoke of it openly, afraid of losing their livelihoods. But the weight of their silence told him everything. This wasn't a single outburst. It was a long history of degradation. And now he had a choice to make: remain silent, complicit in cruelty, or confront a truth that could shatter his own marriage. The mansion felt colder than ever, not because of its marble, but because of the hypocrisy it now represented. And Michael knew. The climax was inevitable. The breaking point came during a lavish dinner party attended by politicians, investors, and socialites. Crystal glasses clinked, laughter echoed, and Eleanor played the role of gracious hostess flawlessly. Yet Michael's eyes saw through the performance. In the middle of the evening, a quiet commotion stirred near the kitchen door. The cleaner's daughter, dressed in modest clothes, had come to help her mother with clearing trays. Eleanor noticed her instantly. With narrowed eyes and an icy smile, she dismissed the girl in front of the entire room, declaring children of staff had no place among guests of such stature. The room fell into uncomfortable silence. Some guests glanced away, unwilling to intervene. Others shifted uncomfortably but stayed quiet, complicit in their silence. Eleanor believed she had reasserted her authority. But that was the moment Michael rose from his chair. The millionaire, usually reserved in public, cleared his throat and demanded attention. He turned toward Eleanor, his voice steady yet carrying the weight of a storm. He recounted what he had witnessed on the marble staircase days earlier, exposing her cruelty before the very people whose approval she prized most. Then he shifted his focus to the girl, acknowledging her dignity, her silent resilience, and her worth beyond measure. He reminded everyone in the room that no amount of wealth excused demeaning another human being, especially a child. Gasps echoed. Eleanor's face was drained of color. Michael's words didn't just confront her, they dismantled her carefully curated facade. The truth lay bare for all to see. What followed wasn't just a confrontation of two individuals, but a collision of values: arrogance versus empathy, status versus humanity. And the choice Michael made that night would alter his legacy forever. The aftermath rippled like an earthquake. Within days, whispers spread beyond the mansion. Guests repeated Michael's words, recounting how a millionaire had openly condemned his own wife's cruelty. Eleanor's reputation fractured. The very social circles she once dominated now saw her as a symbol of hypocrisy. But Michael's choice didn't end with words. Quietly, he made arrangements for the cleaner's daughter to receive educational support, scholarships, and mentorship opportunities. He didn't announce it publicly or use it as a shield for his image. He did it because he remembered. He remembered the doors that once closed on him, and how a single chance could change the trajectory of a life. For the staff who had endured years of subtle cruelty, Michael's actions sent a different message. Silence would no longer be the cost of survival. He implemented fair policies, raised wages, and insisted every worker be treated with respect. The mansion, once a cold symbol of arrogance, began to reflect something different, a place where dignity, not wealth, defined its worth.